Let's get specific and talk about the migrant crisis in this regard. About 229,000 migrants came to the city streets of New York. You had to find shelter for them. You articulate, I believe, during the Tucker Carlson interview, the lack of support that you had received, etc. Nevertheless, you found a way to maneuver your way through this and find yourself in a position where there were so many other things about your administration there was to applaud. Crystallize for the viewers out there and the listeners on iHeartRadio as well, the kind of potential damage inflicted upon New York City in light of migrants coming to the city, and New York obviously being considered a sanctuary city.
Right, right. And, well said, and that's a great question. And so let's look at it for a moment. 220,000 migrants and asylum seekers came to the city, 1.5 the size of Albany. So a whole city was dropped in our cities. We were getting thousands a week, all times of the night. We had to provide every service that you would provide to an individual person. We had to do housing, we had to clean clothing, we had to provide food, we had to educate 40,000 women and 40,000 children. And we were told this: it's illegal for you to allow them to work. You can't allow the buses to come, you can't stop the buses from coming in. You can't even allow them to volunteer to remove graffiti, deliver food and services. You couldn't do any of that. All of that was against the law. And out of the $6.5 billion, the federal government wanted to give us $200 million and only gave about $125 million to provide for this service, which is a national problem. It's not a local problem. Mm-hmm. And so what it did was, in addition to the countless number of people who were pursuing the American dream, it brought in a small number of a criminal element that did a disproportionate amount of crime. So we had a public safety issue that we were facing in our city, and we had an infrastructure issue, because those $6.5 billion, people tell me all the time, okay, Eric, you got through it. Wow, congratulations. You transitioned 170,000 to go on to the next step of the American dream. But what is the damage, the long-term damage? I couldn't go after children who are chronically absent from school because we didn't have the money. My older adults, dealing with my housing infrastructure, that's $6.5 billion. Now we're up to $6.9 billion that were removed from dealing with the real issues that we wanted to invest into our city. The long-term impact to New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Denver, we have not witnessed the long-term impact yet to this crisis.
So with that being said, are you still supportive of the city of New York being considered a sanctuary city?
And so that's so important. These are good questions, brother. People conflate what sanctuary city is.
Please explain.
A sanctuary city is saying that if you are in New York and you are paying your taxes, then those tax dollars provide your services, your police services, your hospital service, your education services. And so right here, if you're in New York, we're not going to deny you those services, because you buy a loaf of bread, you're paying taxes. You buy gas, you're paying taxes. So with those tax dollars, you're paying for the goods and services of the city. That's what the sanctuary city means. What we have been saying, what American people have stated, Donald Trump got the popular vote and the electoral vote. Yeah. And so the people of the city said, we got to fix our borders. You can't allow people to come in the country with no destination, not knowing where they're going, and then you're telling them you're not allowed to work. Imagine that for 6 months.
But what about somebody that's looking at you? Because I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
I have been on this show. Right. I've been on the airwaves. And I mean, with all of these billions you're talking about,
right.
I think I was the loudest critic of the $53 million prepaid credit card. I was losing my mind. I'm like, wait a minute. I know, look, I've been black all my life. I've been in New York City for the better part of my life. I'd be damned if I ever saw some damn prepaid credit cards coming to the black community. And I was born here. So I'm like, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, how could that be supported?
I love
Explain that to me.
I love that. And that is why it's important to be able to tell your own narrative. Okay. So let's look at those credit cards.
Please do.
Those cards. We were required by law to feed every migrant and asylum seeker that was in our care.
Okay.
Food was being delivered that people were not eating. And a lot of it was being thrown out. We were wasting money. And so my former deputy mayor, Sheena Wright, first deputy mayor, came in and said, listen, there's this minority company called Mocafy. We give people a food card with around $11 a day that they can spend for food, and they're going to go to the local bodegas, shops, and restaurants within the area. So we're going to recycle the money back into the community instead of a large conglomerate that we're spending. It saved us money. And we were able to put money back into the local communities, and it stopped the food waste that we were seeing of taxpayers' dollars. So we did a pilot to say, let's see how successful this is. And so on first brush, when you see people do it, you say, wait a minute, what are you giving these guys credit?
I lost my mind. All I saw was 53 million in prepaid credit cards. I said, prepaid. Oh, I was hot. I was hot about that. So I need that explanation.
And even the editorial boards who responded at first, like the Daily News did a whole piece and say, listen, this is a smart approach to government. Because what many people don't realize, people know my law enforcement background, they know what I'm doing around health in the city, but really people don't appreciate the fiscal management that independent bond raters who determine how successful you are managing a city have raised my bonds. They say this cat has managed us through COVID. He's managed us through the asylum seekers. He's managing the city and been fiscally responsible.
I want to transition to the issue of crime, all right? Because on May 1st, 2023, 30-year-old homeless man, Jordan Neely, was killed after being put in a chokehold by Daniel Penny, a 24-year-old United States Marine Corps veteran, while riding the New York City subway. He was found not guilty this past December. A woman was set on fire as she was sleeping on the F train. When you think about those incidences, those kind of things that you happen, like you said, the number is considerably lower than people even recognize. But you know the visual is what it's all about. You know, I mean, you see a woman on fire, you scared. You scared. You don't want your daughter on there. You don't want your wife on there. You don't want your mom on there. You're going to get scared. You're going to be in panic mode because you're worried about what, damn it, could it be you? When you talk about addressing crime, how do you believe your administration has gone about doing it? And how has it been successful?
A crime is perceived and actual. And where our failure, I tell the team, we lost the perception. Because when you have incidents that overshadow your success, no matter how impressive your numbers are, it overshadows. When you have 3 people stabbed by a person with severe mental health illness, when you have someone set on fire, those visualizations are real. And I respect how people feel. I don't want to come to people and tell them, listen, here are my numbers, this is how well we're doing. How you feel is important to me. My success in this city has been overshadowed by 3 things. Random acts of violence, slashing people, pushing people to the subway system, putting people on fire. Those small numbers have a major impact on how people feel. Second is recidivism. We have a lot of cats that
going in and out, going back, coming out, going
unbelievable,
getting arrested and coming right back out in the streets. Sometimes the same day.
Right. We have about 575 people that were arrested over 7,500 times for shoplifting. We have 36 people who were arrested over 1,100 times for a crime.
That's just asking police officers not to do their job.
You know what I'm saying? What
purpose does it serve?
You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you the third issue that overshadows: severe mental health illness. We have people with severe mental health illness. When I first got elected, I went into the streets January and February and visited people in encampments. I saw human waste, drug paraphernalia, schizophrenic, bipolar, and I told the team, we can't live like this. And many people were saying for years, even when we were growing up, when people were sleeping on the street, our families said, listen, just leave them alone, they're crazy or what have you. We closed psychiatric wards like Creekmore and others and didn't give people a landing place. And now you see them on the streets, they're doing they part of the random acts of violence, a small number of them. And so when I said we're going to tackle this, my team said, man, you out of your mind, man. Nobody dealt with this stuff. And I said, no, this is inhumane. We got to stop this. And when I was out in the street, I met a guy that was living in an encampment who was a retired police officer that just slipped through the cracks. And I said, we're not going to continue to do that. That has overshadowed our success. Crime is down. Shootings, homicides are down, our economy is back, but it has been overshadowed by those random acts of violence.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more because we're going to work to not have those things overshadowed with all the good things that you're doing right now. And I just want to throw this out, and it'll please your team because everybody make sure I have my information. I got to give them their props where it's due, okay? You're talking about a plan to axe, taxes for the working class family, a plan to literally eliminate and cut city personal income taxes for $582,000 of of the poorest New Yorkers. Anytime
Right.
you're cutting taxes, I love that. I love that. I love stuff like that. You're planning to build 80,000 new homes across 5 boroughs, do small changes and bring the cost of housing down. You've got an initiative that has saved New Yorkers more than $30 billion through city, state, and federal programs since the start of the administration. Major stuff going on.
Working class people.
That's right.